Hey guys, in this tutorial we are going to focus on how we can automate launching our application service with CloudFormation. It's going to be the most simple setup to make our app up and running, but also we will have a base image with certain packages so we can use it for the other applications. While doing this, instead of using AWS console, we are going to prefer a declarative way and work with YAML files. Infrastructure as a code has its own strengths, such as ability to version control and see how our stack evolved, and use the same setup later on for the other purposes. Of course, there are alternative ways to achieve the same result, like Ansible, but CloudFormation has some advantages over Ansible. Like you don't need to wait for the Ansible to support new AWS services. Just use CloudFormation as a native solution. Let's get started. So here is our plan. First, we're going to create the EC2 instance with the default setup. Then going to install main elements for our stack, like Nginx. Then get an image with the base setup so we can use the same setup later for different instances. The last, indicate the image information inside our CloudFormation setup for the future launches. So before going into the code, we're gonna see the CloudFormation in general structure. CloudFormation is based on resources. I mean the resources could be anything like EC2 instance, RDS, SQS, whatever topic you need. You can just go and then see the resources page under CloudFormation, and each resource has their own config. And for this tutorial, to make the start a bit easier, we're going to just focus the EC2 instance. And for this EC2 instance, we're going to have three main concerns. And then the one is the availability zone, the other one is the image ID, and the instance type. Right, let's go and look into the code. I create this AWS folder under my project directory and name the file as stack. You can name it however you want. You can configure your resources under this config file, and it could be RDS, EC2, S3, whatever resource you're going to use. We are going to need the EC2 instance, and that's the resource type. And resource name comes here. It's going to help us to, after the AWS console, we can identify your instance, so it's going to be helpful and useful. These are the properties for the simplest setup. And the first property we're going to look at is the availability zone. To be able to define your availability zone, you need to find out which region you want to launch the instance. And that has to be somewhere close to where your product is based because of regulatory reasons or just performance issues. And you can find your region under the documentation file. For me, it's Frankfurt. I live in Germany. If you don't know which availability zone you want to pick under your region, you can use this command. And availability zones are for preventing single point of failure and can be assigned by you or automatically by AWS by creating the instances. And now I'm going to define my region here. I'm going to see which availability zones I can identify, and then just type it here. So for image ID and instance type, we're going to go to the AWS console and actually launch the instance here. These two options are important, the rest is not, so we're going to launch after defining these two. The first one is the choose the AMI. These are the predefined ones by AWS. We're going to use one of these. After, we're going to choose the instance type and the launch the instance, and actually going to install some default packages. So we can use this AMI config here later on. We don't need to use the predefined and preset, and we can use the same packages for other instances as well. That's going to be really beneficial. And for the instance type, we can just pick one with the lowest cost, so we don't need to pay a lot. So I'm going to pick the Ubuntu server. And actually for the instance type, I'm going to leave it like this and launch the instance. Yeah, as you can see, it's pending and it's going to be ready soon. All right, my service is up and running. I'm going to go into it and connect. Oops. And I'm going to install PHP. The top of the preset image, I'm gonna add one PHP, so this image will be available for, actually, I'm gonna make it an image first, then it will be available for other instances under the CloudFormation. Okay, let's check if it's there. Yeah, it's there. I'm gonna close it. I'm gonna go to instance back and actually go to the actions. Oops. Not this one, but this one. Create the image. Let's say Ubuntu with PHP 7.4. And let's create the image. If you go to the under AMIs, you should be able to see the images being created. It's gonna take some time. I am gonna try to actually delete this, terminate this instance, and I'm gonna go to the image page. I'm gonna get the image ID so I can use it here. And while creating the instance, we saw the already instance type, so it should be ready. So we can use this config to actually automatically create the instances. As you can see, our instance is gone, terminated, and we're gonna go to CloudFormation. Let's start our config we had created earlier on. I'm gonna name it we don't need to use any of these other configs. I'm going to review and just create the stack. After it's done, you should be able to see our resource here. It's going to take some time. It's going to use our image we already configured here, and it's going to be in this availability zone. And whenever it's ready, yeah, we can start using it. Let's wait a little longer. We should be seeing this green light soon. Yeah, creation is complete. Yeah, it's ready to use. Thanks for watching.